From Washington, this is VOA News. I'm Steve Norman reporting. World powers have agreed on a plan for a cessation of hostilities in Syria, but have stopped short of securing a ceasefire. Foreign ministers in the International Syria Support Group, including U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, met in Munich. A story now from VOA's Pam Dawkins in Munich.
After a flurry of bilateral meetings, the full International Syria Support Group sat down and crafted a plan to launch a cessation of hostilities targeted to begin in 1 week.
That's ambitious, but everybody is determined to move as rapidly as possible to try to achieve this.
In a news conference with his Russian counterpart and the UN envoy, Kerry said a ceasefire carried legal prerogatives that would not apply to a cessation. The group also said the cessation would not apply to terrorist organizations, some of which were near the besieged city of Aleppo, according to Russia. The group agreed to expand relief efforts in Syria, where a humanitarian crisis has worsened as a result of the Russian-backed Syrian government bombings over Aleppo, which have forced thousands of civilians to seek refuge near the Turkish border. Pam Dawkins, VOA News, Munich.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is to meet with the head of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, today at the Munich conference. U.S. is to quadruple military spending in Europe to $3.4 billion in 2017 as NATO increases troops. Russia has called NATO's move a threat to stability in Europe. South Sudan's President Salva Kiir has reappointed his rival Rick Machar as vice president. It basically restores the presidency to where it was just before fighting erupted in South Sudan just over 2 years ago. This is VOA News. Pope Francis has embarked on a trip that will take him to Mexico with a stop in Cuba for a historic meeting with the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, Patriarch Kirill. Kirill is in Cuba for a state visit. Today's meeting is the first of its kind, an effort to heal the 1,000-year-old schism that has divided Christianity between the East and the West. The two U.S. Democratic presidential candidates appear to be working harder at convincing voters that they are the candidate for all the people, especially middle-class Americans. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders held another debate Thursday night on the PBS network. At moments, the debate was tense and verbal barbs increased as Clinton tries to rebound from Sanders' landslide victory in the New Hampshire primary earlier this week. Both candidates are making a stronger pitch for minority votes as they head to South Carolina, where votes by minorities, especially African Americans, are expected to play a major role in the state's primary.
We can no longer continue to sweep it under the rug. It has to be dealt with. Today, a male African American baby born today stands a 1 in 4 chance of ending up in jail. That is beyond unspeakable.
When we talk about criminal justice reform and ending the era of mass incarceration, we also have to talk about jobs, education, housing, and other ways of helping communities do better.
Clinton picked up a major endorsement on Thursday from the political fundraising arm of the Congressional Black Caucus, a group representing African Americans in Congress. But it's unclear if they will propel her to a much-needed victory in the South Carolina primary on February the 27th. South Korea has warned North Korea about acting illegally and freezing the assets of South Korean companies and personnel in the Kaesong industrial zone used by both nations. On Thursday, North Korea ordered all South Koreans to leave the Kaesong project. That's about 10 kilometers inside North Korea. Pyongyang said employees could only take personal belongings with them in order to complete freeze on assets left behind. Pyongyang said the explosions were a reaction to Seoul's decision a day earlier to shut down its operations at the park. And speculation rose today the Bank of Japan would call an emergency meeting prior to its next scheduled session in mid-March amid surging yen prices and plunging equity prices. Get more news at our website. You can find us at voanews.com. I'm Steve Norman in Washington.
That's the latest world news from VOA.